So a quick little recap for those of you who did not see my Narbonne video. We took a day trip to the beach and we were all set to go home, had tickets booked and everything, but in the end, we ended up getting passed by our bus. Our bus was 20 minutes late both times. We ended up missing the train that we needed to take to get home, so we got stuck halfway between Narbonne and Albi in the city of Toulouse.
Hey, keep me where the light is, keep me where the bright is. Two left feet, can you show me where the ride is? I've been on the low side, I've been on the high side.
So we missed the bus that we were gonna take. We missed the train, and now we're gonna be stuck in Toulouse for a night. But we get to use that same $1 ticket that we got. So that's the good news. And now we just have to find an Airbnb to stay at for the night. You might recall from the Narbonne video how some of our friends gifted us half of a pizza, which ended up coming in clutch in this situation. It ended up being our dinner and we ate it outside the train station before heading back to Toulouse. Because Europe doesn't have this 24/7 culture of shopping, all of the grocery stores in France closed at like 7 p.m. So our only options for food was the vending machines in the metro station. We ended up having to run to catch our metro so that we could make our bus to our Airbnb, which was not central in Toulouse. We'll just put it that way. I really liked how the Toulouse metro had this like rainbow upholstery to it. Other than that, it was exactly like the DC metro, very comfortable to ride, felt safe, was super clean. After the metro, we caught a bus, which took us on a 45-minute ride to approximately where our Airbnb was. Emphasis on the word approximately. At this point, we called our Airbnb host to try to figure out the next steps, but he had a hard time explaining where we were supposed to go. He was out of town, so his roommates were supposed to bring us the key. It was all very confusing and ended up with us waiting in a dark parking lot for like 20 minutes by a post office. So it's 11:20 p.m. We finally made it to our Airbnb. It was an adventure and a half. You know what? I'm not going to go through all of the details of it. Needless to say that we're in a room with no lock, without a key, but that's fine. But we have somewhere to sleep for the night, and honestly, this room is really pretty. I was just thankful to have a place to lay my head after such a long day. But my favorite part of the room was definitely the book selection, which was super random, including this book of The Adventures of Peter Pan, which was perfect because it was right at my reading level. This is honestly everything I could ask out of a day trip. From the Peter Pan reading selection to having Kinder Bueno out of a vending machine for dinner to staying in a very interesting Airbnb. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. In order to understand this next part, you have to understand what Crystal City is. It's a neighborhood right outside of Washington, D.C. that's made up of these giant concrete buildings that used to be military buildings. And basically they've converted them into hotels and apartments. But in order to make this really ugly neighborhood look more appealing, they paint giant murals everywhere. And it's just somewhere that I've spent a lot of time in. The neighborhood we're in Toulouse kind of reminds me, it's like the Crystal City of this town, Toulouse. The reason I say this is like the Crystal City of Toulouse is because these buildings are all like concrete, just like concrete buildings. What did I say? This is the Crystal City of Toulouse. We left our Airbnb by 8 a.m., hopped on a bus, and rode to the metro station. I really appreciate how Toulouse has these doors on the metro and these walls that ensure that no one can accidentally fall onto the tracks. I think that's a great safety feature for any metro to have. My friend headed straight back to Albi because she had to do some work, but I decided to spend the day in Toulouse since I was already there. I went to a little park with this beautiful fountain and did my daily journaling, which you can follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with my journaling habit. I am over 50 days of straight journaling so far. I spent the next couple of hours just wandering around and exploring the city. I found Toulouse to be really beautiful, although I can't say that I liked it more than Albi because Albi has just such a beautiful, quintessential French look, whereas Toulouse is more of a city. I saw lots of roosters in this big park that I went to, which I found really amusing. I don't know if y'all remember that video where I make a joke about everyone in France having a rooster, but I will say that it is France's national animal for a reason, I suppose, because I do see a lot of them here. While I was in the park, I found a book to read. I really appreciate how France always has these little free libraries everywhere, so I can always pick up something to read and practice my French. I love the culture around reading in France and around literature. After that, I went to this river to have a picnic with a friend on the riverbanks, and it was really fun and really beautiful. At the picnic, I got to try all sorts of French cheeses and French pastries that I had never tried before. I really appreciate it when French people really put effort into sharing their culture with me because that's a huge part of the reason why I'm here, to learn about the culture. Then we walked back to the train station because it was time to take my train, and I saw a lot more of the city on our walk back. And it was just as beautiful as ever, and y'all saw the Toulouse train station in my Narbonne video, but again, I really appreciate the architecture in France and how everything is just so beautiful. I took the train home, and by the time I got home, I was exhausted, but I was really glad that I had finally gotten to explore Toulouse. So that's it for this week's video. If you liked it, please comment below, it really helps me out, helps out the channel. And if you aren't already, please subscribe, especially if you're interested in seeing more travel content and more content about how I am living abroad and how you too can travel and live abroad and experience France and Europe and all that it has to offer. See you next week. And even if we had to stand in a dark parking lot for 10 minutes and try to speak French on the phone to someone and then just wait until a strange man walked up to us, it still all worked out fine, and now I have this bed.